What happens in the sky affects life down here on Earth. The celestial compass shows you how and guides your way with astrology you can use from professional astrologer Kathy Beal. Every episode features her light-hearted, practical forecasts and navigational tips, blended with humor, optimism, and a love of patterns, symbolism, and pop culture references. Kathy translates technicalities into concepts that apply to real life. You'll learn how the current moment ties to where we've been, from the recent past to cycles that last happened years ago, and get a look at where we're heading. And much more, from special topics to special guests. The Celestial Compass, enlightening, entertaining, and empowering. Here's your host, Kathy Beal.
Greetings, Earthlings. This is Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net. We are in eclipse season. The big event in the month of September is on the 17th. It's this week as this episode is airing. We're beginning the next eclipse family in the signs of Virgo and Pisces, which are going to be stirring issues of boundaries versus all connectedness, service versus martyrdom or victimization, and overthinking versus universal faith. This eclipse season begins with a lunar eclipse, the Pisces full moon. A lunar eclipse is like a full moon on a really unhealthy level of steroids that would kill a mere mortal. It is a time of incredible escalating of long simmering problems, circumstances, situations, of revelations of people and situations and circumstances just leaving, getting booted out, and having a general feeling of chapters starting to close. This eclipse is starting a cycle that's going to be with us for the next couple of years. The cycle we've been under is still with us, the Aries Libra eclipses, which are rewriting and resetting our relationship ground rules and how we interact with each other. What makes this particular lunar eclipse so bonkers, yes, that's the word, is that it is conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, the font of highest wisdom and most compassionate love, incredible inspiration. It's also what I call the cosmic fog machine. Lies, pyrite, fool's gold, magical thinking, completely being completely unhinged from reality. This particular eclipse is going to start the wrapping up and winding down of Neptune's time in Pisces, where he's been since April 2011. So that time period may end up being very pivotal or informative for you to consider. And it's he's going to be moving out, starting his move out in the spring. But now he is traveling also with the two cosmic change agents, at least through the middle of November. Uranus, awakening, liberating, enlightening, disruptive, volatile, and also Pluto, the Lord of death and rebirth, the agent of unavoidable evolutionary level change and transformation. So we have opportunities to actually do a lot with whatever comes to light now, and there could be tremendous sludge coming up. We could see ways in which we've been fooling ourselves, in which we've been lied to, the whole fake news, who do you trust, who's telling you the truth, gaslighting, issues that have been so rampant lately will be a huge, huge feature of this. So don't necessarily believe everything you hear, always a good motto to keep. The sun's still in Virgo. Hang on to that. Hang on to the clarity. Hang on to discerning and protect your boundaries. Okay, enough of that. Oh, also, if you want more, if you want the full story, you can look for my September forecast and my forecast for the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse at omtimes.com and my site empowermentunlimited.net or my YouTube channel, which is Professional Aquarian. Okay, now we're going to move into something that deals with the higher potentials of all this Neptunian energy with a wonderful guest. I'm very happy. This is someone I actually really know in real life very well. JillMJackson. She is an internationally celebrated psychic medium and spiritual teacher. She's the recipient of the Psychic of the Year award 2 times in a row from Best American Psychics, to which we both belong, as well as its 2014 Social Activism Award for her volunteer work with animals. She and her husband, Mystic D. Francis, created and lead Mystic Journeys, a spiritual retreats company that takes Lightworkers to portals, power chakra spots, and sacred places around the world. She's the author of Mississippi Medium, My Journey from Southern Baptist to Talking to the Dead, and the upcoming Children of the New Earth, and the new Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D, Going Beyond the Laws of Attraction, which is what we're going to be talking about. Hey, Jill.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much for having me. I loved listening to your forecast. You know, it is truly one of those get your popcorn moments that we are in for sure. You know, I liken this energy to getting on a roller coaster after having 3 margaritas, you know, that it's just, it kind of feels that way to me.
I haven't heard that description. I'll take it. I will quote you. I will quote you. And I'll happily have margaritas with you. Everyone, we really do actually know each other. We have been in the same place, sharing time, space coordinates multiple times in New York and North Carolina, in Mississippi, where Jill has her center, actually, even in New Jersey, not horribly far from me. So we've known each other, I don't know, 12 years, maybe? Long time.
Longer, yes.
So, before we get into your book, I always like to have a first time guest give a little bit of the background of their journey, because, like so many of us in this general line of work, you started out doing something extremely conventional and then you found yourself here. So, could you talk a little bit about your journey to psychic mediumship?
Absolutely. I was born able to see the spirit world. I've been able to see with my physical eyes since I was a child. And, you know, I thought everybody could see spirit. And I remember sitting outside many times because there were just so many people, visitors in my house. And at the time, I could not hear them. Now I'm able to hear them. But when I was a child, I could only see them. And it was frightening to me. I didn't quite understand what was going on. And when my grandmother passed away, I was 12 years old. And that's the first time I could hear a loved one in the other world. And she was floating above my bed. She told me that she is in a beautiful other world. And she just wanted to let me know that she was doing wonderful. But I tried to fit into, you know, the normal world. I love that you talked about in the opening about the mere mortals, Kathy, that I love that because, you know, I wanted to fit in. So I went to college and became a CPA and a money manager. I lived in Los Angeles, California, and I managed a lot of celebrities' finances and money. And I was in that world for quite some time. And, you know, I was using psychic and intuition with my clients and helping them make decisions. But I wasn't following my path, and I started getting very sick. I had 2 times I was in the hospital. I was near death, and I realized that I was not on the path that I came here to do. And, you know, but like many of us, when you are in this corporate career and, you know, the income is quite wonderfully, supportive. And I can see why people have a little bit of trepidation of jumping off that cliff, but I really didn't feel like that I had a choice any longer. And I jumped into this world. I started training. I'm a real huge advocate of training. And I trained at Lilydale. I trained at Arthur Findlay College. I trained at the Journey Within in New Jersey, in your neck of the woods, Kathy. And here I am today.
And kudos to you for making the jump. I had to be shoved. I also got really ill and didn't know how I was going to handle it. And I had to have my life blown up to be able to make the leap. So congratulations for doing that. But then again, that fits what I know of your chart. So, before we talk about your book, I'd like to define some basic concepts at the outset. This derives from, or so the starting point or the launching pad is a phenomenon known as the secret, which popularized the law of attraction in a book and in a film. And I recall having a very, very strong visceral reaction to the notion that you could look in a shop window at a necklace and stare at it long enough and desire it, and it would magically appear on your throat. Anyway, so you have been working with the aftermath of The Secret for quite some time.
Yes. And I could not agree with you more, Kathy. It's such a polarity because I have so much admiration for the original pioneers of the law of attraction movement and the original book, The Secret, which was published about 20 years ago, believe it or not, because they did create a level of excitement and having, about 20 million people jumping on the bandwagon of understanding energy or starting to understand energy. But for me, and I've always been a master manifester. I've been really successful throughout my life, but I was using the tools from the law of attraction teachings to have a baby. And after 5 miscarriages, I went into a tremendous period of grief, but I also felt really like a failure. And in my book, I call it perceived manifestation failure, because I went through a time period of what did I do wrong, wrong in using the law of attraction tools. And so after this period of grieving and dealing with my own anger and my own sadness, I decided to go on a quest and really delve into why this particular area that I wanted to manifest had not come to fruition. And after about a 3-year journey, I decided to go ahead and start writing the book to help other people, because I finally came to a level of understanding of why that had not come to fruition for me.
And this book was the precursor to the current book, correct?
Yes, the original book was titled The Secrets of the Secret, and I decided to republish the book under a different name, a different cover, and I added a little bit more material to the new book. And in about a month, the companion workbook journal will be coming out as well, that will give people prompts and journal prompts, and they will have a space to be able to write in their workbook journal.
Oh, that's good to know. Now that also reminds me. All right, so the difference between the books leads to the other term or concept I'd like to define before we get into talking about your book. And that's the notion of 5D. What is 5D?
Great question. For so many years, spiritual teachers were teaching 5D being a place, a level, going up, like going up into the heavens to reach this fifth dimensional space. And in reality, it is a state of mind. In reality, it's accessing another dimension while you're still occupying the same physical space. And it's why you can be in the same physical room with someone who has chosen to anchor their energy in third dimension, which is the dimension of polarity, division, hate, anger, chaos, and someone else in the same space who has integrated the fifth dimensional energy into their vibrational field. And the fifth dimensional energy is unity, unconditional love, divinity, sovereignty, joy, these types of higher vibrational energies and frequencies. And when that person has integrated that into their auric field, their light is shining brighter. This is why more and more people are attracted to those on a spiritual path, because they don't understand why they're attracted to them. But the fifth dimensional frequency helps shine the light brighter. But it's so interesting how somebody can be occupying the same physical space, but be in a different dimension. And that's why so many people now are looking through a lens and seeing something very different that is playing out in their reality.
I found myself saying a lot about or commenting on certain mind-blowing interpretations that I come across as this is evidence of two realities masquerading as one.
100%. And
Yep.
haven't you noticed too that it seems to be more and more prevalent?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's been quickening since I can tell you the date it started. July 21st, 2024. The quickening just like something hit the gas. And I can tell you there was an astrological reason for it, but you noticed it, right?
I noticed it, Kathy. I even talked about it on my YouTube channel, being in the month of July. And, I'm not an astrologer. So I'm so happy to know that there was an astrological event.
Yep. And it's not going away. There's any of you out there going, oh, this isn't going to last. Oh, no, 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 no. The other view of reality may have a brief resurgence, but no. Just watch how, I mean, it's actually been palpable how it's been spreading. A different way of viewing things and the emotional catharsis.
Mm.
So your book describes all kinds of, from many, many angles, what people can actually do with this. So you talk about other universal laws besides the law of attraction that play into what goes on.
Absolutely. And this is what I discovered on my own journey of trying to find meaning behind why I had not been successful. So and we'll talk a little bit later about past lives and soul contracts and karma,
Right.
but the other spiritual laws are the pillars of the law of attraction are the law of action and the law of vibration. Because just like you said, standing there and looking at a necklace in a window and wanting it to be on your neck is just one aspect of the way to manifest. There's action that we must take to start bringing this energy in, and creating that action brings in the spiritual law of vibration, which actually creates the energetic signature to start creating the foundation for the law of attraction to actually manifest and be successful.
And one thing I have noticed is that if you keep going after something and you're being told no, 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 that this could be a signal that your vibrational frequency isn't matching where you're looking for what you think you want. Would that be a true statement?
100% true statement. And so that's a huge part of it as well. And I think for most of the listeners, we can all look back on our lives and recognize that the things that we thought we wanted to manifest 5, 10, 15 years ago are very different than the things that we would want to manifest today. And that has to do with our own soul's evolution and growth, our own vibrational frequency. And if we are wanting to manifest, let's say, a soulmate into our lives, the resonance and the vibration needs to be a similar match. And so, for those people who have not done their own spiritual shadow work and have not peeled those onion layers back and worked on their own wounds and their own pain bodies and worked on their vibrational frequency, then the law of resonance means that they are going to attract those who are vibrating at a lower frequency as well. And so energetically, if you're wanting to bring in and manifest your soulmate who is a high vibrational spiritual person, then let's first work on our own vibration and allow the universe to bring in the rest.
Now you have some laws that you discuss that are not self-evident. They aren't ones that I think most readers are going to go, well, of course. Yeah. Faith.
Yes. So that is an interesting one. And as a recovering control freak, this has been this has been one that has been really beneficial for me. And another tool that the law of attraction and the original secret taught is just focusing on what we're wanting almost obsessively, every day, putting the little sticky notes all around. And what I have uncovered and discovered is when we are wanting to manifest something and we create our mantras, we create our vision board, we do the other spiritual laws that go along with it, we work on ourselves, then the spiritual law of faith comes in where we sit back and we allow the law of attraction to bring those items in, as long as they are in correlation with our original soul's blueprint. And that is another area that I would, want to talk about today as well, because that's just a huge piece to the puzzle.
So, all right. Well, why don't you hold on before we get to that? There's
Yeah.
the law of divine oneness. That one kind of like I went, what?
Yes. Okay. So the original law of attraction, and again, I have a lot of reverence and respect for this work. I mean, it got 20 million people on their journey and their path. So, but it's time. Humanity's consciousness has elevated, and it's time now to start manifesting on a level of unity. And when we think about the areas that we are wanting to manifest, think about if everybody on the planet wanted to manifest a Ferrari. How boring would this life and this planet be if everybody's driving around with a red Ferrari? I mean, it makes no sense when you really sit back and think about it. So if we can think about manifesting not only for our own individual wants and desires, but while we're manifesting, if we can get into a divine oneness, a unity frequency, and allow that to be a ripple effect to manifest out for humanity's collective consciousness as well, because quantum physics has proven that everything is energy. So why not take the law of attraction and our own manifesting and use that as a ripple effect to begin raising the consciousness level of humanity and anchoring in the understanding that we are all connected, and that brings in the spiritual law of oneness.
That's a great explanation. Thank you. So you talk a lot. You have a whole look at past lives and soul contracts. So how in the world does that fit in with the 5D and how you make things happen?
Yes, absolutely. Before we incarnate, we meet with our spirit guides and we decide what we want to experience in this lifetime. It's when we create I prefer to call them soul growth opportunities rather than lessons. And we decide who we're going to meet, different soulmates, different relationships. And it's written in what my guides have shown me, a type of blueprint. But the really cool thing is, with a blueprint, it's just like an architect building a house and they design the blueprint. You can change that blueprint over time. You can, take a wall out, you can add a new room in, and our soul contracts and blueprints are designed the same way. But when we first incarnate, our spirit guides have our blueprint and they are working along with us. And when we start manifesting, if we are attempting to manifest something that we did not write into our original soul's plan, then 99.9% of the time, we will not be successful in manifesting that. And for myself, I wrote it in my soul's blueprint that I was not going to be a biological mother in this lifetime. I have had that in many other lifetimes. And it wasn't, it was karma, but it was my own soul choosing to balance from past lives. And I chose to be a stepmother. I chose to be a mother to furry animals and furry babies. But I did not remember that. My consciousness had not remembered that being part of my original blueprint.
Well, when you're living in a conventional life, it's really easy just to go down the little conveyor belts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also the fact that you did this makes it easier for you to explain it to people and to teach it, because you understand what people are going through.
Yes.
There's also the whole notion of uncovering your path and purpose. And we're going to actually, before we talk about that, let's take our break. So everyone hang out. We'll be back in just a minute to continue talking about how you can adapt these laws into manifesting in the 5D.
Times TV.
Want help with your own celestial compass? Visit my site, empowermentunlimited.net, for Astro Insight forecasts for each week, month, and new and full moon. Want to explore the personal impact? Make a decision? Understand another person? It is possible. Click the Services tab to book a personal session with me. That address again? empowermentunlimited.net.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Celestial Compass. We're talking to Jill M. Jackson, author of Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D. And right before the break, I started to touch on the notion of uncovering your soul's purpose and path. How does that fit in with this?
It fits in so many ways. Until we understand our soul's blueprint and our life purpose and our mission, it's really challenging to properly manifest, because again, if we are spending all of our life force energy manifesting something that we did not come here to accomplish in this lifetime, we are, literally wasting a lot of time and our life force energy. So I encourage people to find their blueprint. So how do we do that? Well, one way is through astrology. I love how you prepare charts for babies and children. It's the original part of the blueprint, right? I mean, it's one of the big keys. So that is one way to do it. It's one tool that we have. And then another one is the life path number. Coming up and finding out our life path number, that tells us a lot. It's kind of like a fun puzzle that we get to play, is all these different pieces. And let's bring in astrology, let's bring in numerology with life path, and then let's bring in even past life regression, because past life regression can help us understand what we have done and who we have been in past lives. That helps us understand some of those learnings and wisdom that we bring into this lifetime. And then studying intuitive development, it's one of my passions. I feel that everybody on the planet will benefit from learning to tap into their intuition. And I have an online school. I teach people intuitive development, and I also teach shadow work, because part of the shadow work, again, is uncovering those areas in our subconscious from wounds of past lives, wounds from our childhood that are creating triggers, and they're creating a murky energy that prevent us from being able to have more clarity on our entire blueprint and our life purpose. So weaving all of those areas together. And then when we raise our vibrational frequency and integrate fifth dimension into our auric field, then, like I said, it helps us connect to that collective wisdom easier. It helps us connect to the quantum field, and the magic from there begins to manifest.
So raising your vibrational frequency. People will say things like, oh, go out in nature or meditate. I have found personally, and then I want to hear what your techniques are, that if I don't immediately act on an impulse and let it sit overnight or maybe the next day, that my, whatever label you want to put on it, will send the answer up that my brain would not have figured out, sometimes very, very surprisingly. So there are specific things people can do.
Yes, and I love that one, Kathy. I've trained myself to, we can retrain our brain waves as well. And when someone says, will you do this, or can you do this for me, or like you said, if there's a decision to be made, I have gotten into the practice of saying, let me meditate on that. And I allow the energy of it 24 hours. And like you said, the next day, the vibration of it, it gives us our answer many times. And by doing that, that is learning to trust our intuitive compass, if you will. And so that is one way to raise our vibration. And yes, nature meditation is another way, but practicing joy, practicing unconditional love, starting each day in an energy of gratitude, because let's face it, we have free will. It's the spiritual law of free will. We can choose each day to have a really, crappy day, or we can choose to have a really amazing day. And starting the day in gratitude is another way to raise our vibrational frequency. Surrounding ourselves with positive, like-minded people. Another way, remove yourself from toxic individuals. Don't listen to people who preach and talk about hate and division and separation, and who attempt to get the masses and attempt to get people to really dislike each other because of the color of their skin. That is lower vibrational energies. So we do not even want to give ourselves 3 seconds to tune into that vibration, because once we tune in, and the people that are doing that and getting their daily dose of hatred and division are lowering their frequency. It's the spiritual laws of vibration.
I have found that I actually have a physical reaction, and it is not a pleasant one. So listen to your body, if nothing else. Okay, if your brain is arguing, oh, they're making a point, listen to your body. That's a piece of information.
Yes, our bodies know. Our bodies know.
You also talk about something that I have found really interesting, often a homing thought that I will have, because I have homing thoughts of the week in my podcast. And often the homing thought will, if there's a particular Uranian aspect going on, will be, show me another way to look at this. So you talk about reframing your thinking, and doesn't your thinking can be part of what undercuts the law of attraction, right?
Absolutely. And again, have grace with ourselves, because we are living a human experience. But if we can consciously pay attention to our words, and maybe find a spiritual buddy who you trust, and if that person hears you using negative words such as shoulda, coulda, woulda, I can't, I never, this, those are lower vibrational words. If you find yourself saying something like this, then just release it and reframe it. It's really important to reframe those words in a really positive way, and to speak the words in the present tense. That creates a very powerful energy signature that, again, helps us not only raise our vibration, not only integrate fifth dimensional frequencies into our auric field, but it helps us manifest everything that our soul chose before we incarnated in this lifetime.
Words do carry energy.
Yes, even Dr. Emoto proved it with water.
I
Science.
saw him speak once. He had to have a translator. He did not have much of a command of English. It didn't matter. And he was a Japanese scientist who actually used special type of photography to capture water molecules when different emotions or words were voiced into them. You can get a deck of them, a deck of cards of these images. And it's amazing how different the water actually looks depending on the nature of the word that's being injected into it.
It's fascinating, and it's proof.
And if you think about it, how much of your body is water, right? So if you're saying, "Oh, I'm stupid," I really take issue with people who put labels on themselves when they do something that they regret. There are other ways you can phrase it than "I'm stupid."
Absolutely.
That is not helpful.
No.
There are other ways to do this. Oh, you also talk about the difference between, and I have been working with this since I read it, the difference between "I'm sorry" and "I apologize." Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, and this is one I really am consciously aware of. And every once in a while, I still will find myself saying it, and I stop mid sentence and then reframe it. I apologize, because think about the connotation of the word sorry. People will say that person's a sorry individual, or sorry is just a very negative, lower vibrational word, and we're not sorry. We are amazing co-creators of our reality. So if we use the word "I apologize," that has a completely different energetic signature to it.
It has agency, for one thing.
Yes.
It's an action word, actually. That's another piece of it.
Yes, I
Here,
love that.
let me give you more things here.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
All right. Now you also, oh no, this was fascinating. You talk about when you're deciding what it is you want to imagine for your life, actually mapping out alternative timelines. How does that work?
This has been so fascinating because, again, when I talked about the soul's blueprint, then we do have the free will to decide to alter that soul contract or amend a soul contract or even close out a soul contract. And I teach this in my workshops. I teach people how to do this because it goes back to feeling empowered, feeling like we are co-creators in our reality. But it's my belief, and I have been able to kind of successfully prove this, if you will, that we all have separate, different timelines that we can choose. For instance, let's say that you are feeling intuitively that it's time for you to make a move, okay? And you are living in a certain city and you start tuning into and researching, and that's the spiritual law of action. You're researching different cities. You're putting that into, you're going on the internet. Let me talk about people that I know who have lived there. Let me get their feedback. Let me read some forums. That's the spiritual law of action. And let's say that you have it narrowed down to 2 cities and you just simply, cannot make up your mind. Well, part of learning intuitive development is bringing yourself to that timeline as if it has already happened. Because in the higher dimensions, we don't have the same time space continuum that we have in the third dimension. So when we can take our energy to the quantum field, which is the field of infinite potential, and we can, like you said, our physical bodies know, and we take ourselves to the timeline of, let's say, moving to San Francisco, and we bring ourselves there, and we allow that to play out, and we give that maybe a few days, and we go within our body. How does that feel? And then we do the same thing with, let's say we're thinking about moving to New York, and we bring ourselves there. We see how we feel in our physical bodies. And this is where a really good professional psychic and astrologer can come into play as well to help with this decision. Your astrologer can look at the astrotopography lines. I never pronounced that correctly. You'll have to help me with that, Kathy, and look at your own astrology and help. And then the psychic can also tune into that timeline potential. Okay, as a psychic, I'm gonna energetically feel what that timeline feels like, and I'm gonna energetically feel what this timeline feels like. And then that's the one that you're gonna want to put your life force energy to and allow the other spiritual laws to help you manifest that reality.
I'm thinking about, it might be fun. I think it will be fun to play with this. I have some alternatives, and it's interesting. As you did it, I was having physical reactions of to some of them, which it's data.
That is data,
Whoa.
100%.
Well,
Yes.
another topic that plays into this, there are beings much younger than you and I who approach life very, very differently than we do. And this is something that you've been writing and talking about for pretty much as long as I've known you. The children of the new earth, is that the concept you have for them? These are post-millennial, right? Ones that were born in this century at different times, or maybe some of them are the tail end of the last. But we see these beings are different. They're just different. The way they approach things, what they value, how they do things. So will you tell us more about that?
Yes, absolutely. The ones who incarnated most recently, Spirit has termed them the Golden Ray children. And what I channeled is that they started arriving in 2014. And so here we are, many of them are 10 years old right now, and some of them are still incarnating, and they came in without any past lives on this planet. However, they have a tremendous amount of wisdom from living in other dimensions and higher dimensions, other star systems, other planets, and their soul agreed to incarnate on our planet to help Mother Earth. It's interesting because these particular children, their soul's mission was not to help individuals. Whereas when you look at the crystal children and even the rainbow children, their mission is to help humans, to help humanity. And it's why a lot of indigos ended up giving birth to crystal and rainbow children. And many crystal and rainbow children chose parents who were not enlightened or awakened at all. And their purpose and mission was to help them awaken and remember their own truths. But the golden ray children are here to help energetically with the raising of the consciousness of Gaia, of Mother Earth.
Let's back up just a tiny bit. I imagine that you've just used a few terms that some people aren't familiar with. Many of us have heard of the concept of indigo children, and that was in the 90s, right? When they started coming in.
Yes.
And
oh no, it was the 60s actually. 60s.
The 60s are indigo children.
Yes.
Interesting, because in the 60s, there was an astrological signature for change agents that fused into some people's personalities. And a couple of them are really big on the collective scene right now. Like the time has come for them to start implementing, doing things differently. So could you go indigos in your, could you just go through them all briefly to explain for people?
Yes. So indigos, and I love that goes back to astrology. Everything goes back to astrology, doesn't it, Kathy?
There's a connection everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. But if you think about indigos, and when I talk about the time frames of when they're incarnating, nothing is absolute, right? So you can have an indigo who may have been born in the 50s, but traditionally they started arriving in the 60s, and their energy, and I love how you talk about them being change agents, because they have, and I don't want to call it aggression, but it's a very assertive energy. It's a kind of energy of, I'm going to be really loud, and I'm going to make change in using my voice and making a difference. They're the ones who have done so much for us in helping the collective start evolving from the old paradigm and the old ways of thinking. And then from the indigos, and I'm an adult indigo, and I have some of that energy where, and again, it's more of an aggressive, if you will. That's really not the right term, but that kind of energy. And then you have the crystal children who began incarnating, and kind of the time frame for the crystal children were the 80s and the 90s. They started arriving in those decades, and they have a softer energy. If you think about quartz crystal, it is so beautiful and pure, yet it has an energy to amplify as well. And so the crystal children came in to again assist other people and help them understand in a softer way. And then you have the rainbow children who started coming in and incarnating after the crystal children, and they have the frequency colors of the rainbow. And that's when more of the movement came in with the LGBTQ movements as well, where there was more of an expression of masculine and feminine, and how that can really, morph together, and how all of that is beautiful. And so they have that energy in their auric field. So part of their purpose was to help us understand, yin and yang, if you will, masculine and feminine. And then after the rainbow children, we have the diamond ray children. Now, the diamond ray children have a lot of the characteristics as the golden ray children, but they are predominantly still having a blueprint of helping usually other children. They are the ones that are giving love to those children who have been bullied. They are the ones who are giving love to even special needs children. When you have a diamond ray child, you will notice that they notice those children who may be having a difficult time. And so it's, but they also have not had, if any incarnations on this planet, maybe a few, but not many. And then you have the golden ray children.
That was exhaustive. Thank you. I did not, I mean, honestly, before I read your book, I didn't realize there were all these lines of demarcation. I can certainly think of people I know who live this, children I know who fit all of it. Well, we have just a little bit of time left, and I want you, well, tell us what else you're doing, because you go on these magnificent trips. What else do you have going on?
Yes, I just returned from Lilydale, teaching in Lilydale, and I'll be teaching in Lilydale July of 2025 as well. And we just returned from our Sedona retreat, and that was amazing. 16 of us going on that retreat, and we are still working on the dates for 2025. But every year we lead a retreat to Sedona. We just returned from Stonehenge and Glastonbury, and that was amazing as well. So all of that information is on my website. And then the Children of the New Earth will be coming out soon. That book will be coming out soon.
And that'll be elaborating on what we talked about here just a minute ago, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
you also have a physical center, and you do a lot of work online. So tell us about that.
Yes, Soul Synergy Center is in Flowood, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson. And we teach classes in person and have events. And then I have an online school as well. And on my website, JillMJackson.com, it just says Learn with Jill. I teach mediumship, I teach shadow work, I teach intuitive and psychic development as well.
That's all. And when people call, I do have people ask me, how can I learn? Is there a way I can do this online? I always send them to you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it okay if I show people my book as well?
I think you should. Yes. Please. So this is her book.
Yes. This is the Manifesting Your Magic in the 5D. I'm super excited for this book as well.
And it is available where?
It is on Amazon, both with Kindle and with the print version of the book.
And you have a workbook coming out also.
Yes. Many people were asking me for a workbook because at the end of every chapter, I call it Invitation to Explore. And with everything that I taught in that chapter, I give each person an opportunity to go within. So it's kind of a teaching book as well. So people ask me for a workbook where they could just have a place to write their own journal prompts down and refer back to it from time to time.
And that will also be at Amazon when it's, and if they get on your mailing list, they'll find out when it's available.
Absolutely. And it's on Barnes & Noble as well. Yes.
And one last piece of information. You have a YouTube channel with monthly predictions, or when you're guided to say something, or how frequently?
Yes, I definitely do monthly predictions. And then from time to time, I will go on and offer channelings. And then I have what's called the High Vibe Tribe, and that information is on my website as well. And it is a community of like-minded, heart-based light workers. And Kathy has been an amazing guest on that. And check that out as well. We have at least three live events each month.
Well, thanks, Jill. It's really great to see you and to talk to you. And I'm excited that your book is out and you had a signing at Lilydale. Anyway, wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish you great, great, great success with it. And I'm curious to see Children of the New Earth when it comes out.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure.
And remember, everyone, regular forecasts, month, week, new and full moon at empowermentunlimited.net. The month and new and full moon ones are also at Home Times. Be safe. Talk to everybody soon. Bye now.